How you doing? This is Roger Richard. This is my critical assignment for ethical leader presentation for Kinesiology 505. All right, let's get to it. So the career path that I chose was a strength and conditioning coach. A strength and conditioning coach helps to develop systematic training programs for both teams and individual athletes. In most cases, they're working really closely with the sport coaches. It's important that they know the needs of each coach and each athlete. And so some of that comes from the testing and analysis they do with the individual athletes, but also the types of teams and the types of players that the coaches want us to try to help create. They're also strength coaches are responsible for teaching proper lifting techniques and supervision and assessment, and actually probably most importantly motivation. Strength coaches help to aid in the prevention of injuries by increasing movement efficiency and using exercises that are sport specific to strengthen those athletes in that particular sport so that they avoid injury. According to Human Kinetics, a strength conditioning coach is a fitness and physical performance professional who designs exercise programs dedicated specifically to improve performance in athletic competitors. But I definitely think a strength coach is way more than that. In most cases, a strength coach has more contact with the athlete than their actual sport coaches. We do a great deal of mentoring, of motivation, of really getting to know the athletes. We get to know them pretty personally because we get to spend so much time with them. Moving on. I kind of have a few different hats in the field that I'm in as a head or assistant head strength coach. So I'm parts operation manager, where I coach. I do human resources, and I'm also currently our internship coordinator. So as a coach, I'm responsible for program design and implementation, as well as athlete leadership. As my roles in human resources, with interviewing, hiring, and firing of employees, and being a leader for the assistant coaches or the younger coaches that we hire. And as internship coordinator, I'm responsible for the development and education of the interns, making sure that they're up to speed on current trends in the industry and just the type of things that we do in our company specifically, as well as some of the things that other companies do that, may benefit them in the future. So I'm also responsible for new coach leadership. So as a coach, leadership styles, I probably use all three. I use some transformational leadership, some servant leadership, and some transactional leadership. And I'm talking about when I'm dealing with my athletes. Obviously, bringing them into a program, they don't necessarily, they may not necessarily be exactly where they want to be. If I have a kid that comes in as a freshman in college, he's nowhere near where he needs to be as a senior in college. So it's my job to try to transform, to help transform that athlete by inspiring them to be more than what they are, to be better than what they are, and help them kind of develop themselves and the type of athlete or person they want to be. And there's some servant leadership there because I definitely have a set of goals that I want to achieve with each player or with each athlete. I'm sure their sport coaches have goals that they want them to achieve, but for me, I want to put them first, to kind of serve them, to have them and their goals be more important than mine, because at the end of the day, it's not going to be about me. Our successes in the weight room really don't mean much if they aren't successful in whatever it is that they choose to do. So, having a great squat PR or a big clean or a big deadlift really doesn't mean anything if they aren't able to win games or matches, or, they don't become a better person. And then transactional, I use maybe a little bit of this, there's some incentivized type things we'll do, for team competitions or for, athletes that make it to a certain amount of sessions. We will give them, like a special shirt, or, we may do a competition where a kid gets a Gatorade or something like that, where we're kind of exchanging, their activity for something. In the human resources field, I'm probably more transformational than anything else. With my employees, I try to inspire them to achieve the extraordinary, by helping them kind of develop their own leadership skills. Eventually they'll be leading followers or leading, and then most of them already are, and they have their own athletes that they're assigned to. So I set expectations for greatness, and I try to provide support so that they're able to reach those expectations. Trying to help them realize the type of leader that they need to be with the athletes that they have, and everybody's going to be different. But we kind of all have the same similar goals in terms of trying to make sure that each athlete reaches his highest potential. As an internship coordinator, I'm probably more of a servant leader than either the other two. I really don't do any transactional. I don't trade any services for the interns. Interns that come in are literally coming in because they want to learn. And I establish that through the interview process. I make sure that I select interns that are going to, actually put in the effort and want to learn as much as they can. And so my job as a coordinator is to, support and facilitate what they do. They want to learn about a certain thing, then I do my best to get as much information to them about that particular thing. If I don't know it, I'm going to refer them to another coach that knows it. And it's going to be a little different because each intern is going to want to try to do something different at the end of all this. And so each internship, while they kind of follow the same curriculum, they each have their own path, and it's kind of tailored to each intern's like individual needs and abilities. I do my best to encourage creativity, to promote innovation, and provide consideration for each person. We have particular workouts that are set up for each day, for each athlete or for each group. And if an opportunity presents itself for the intern to step in and give us a creative way to do, trying to kind of accomplish the same goal as that particular exercise or that particular set of movements, I encourage that because that's it's good for them to be able to take control and take initiative and do things like that, because eventually I'm not going to be there to hold their hands. I'm not going to be there to teach them. They're going to be running their own groups. And that they start to feel comfortable now with, kind of creating this new environment, then that'll help them down the road when they want, be more successful. I do some transformational leadership again because they come in, as new interns, most of them in their second or third year higher of college. Or we have some athletes that'll come back after they're done playing and they intern with us, and they don't really have much experience other than their previous playing experience or a year or two of classes, and so we're trying to align their goals with the internship goals and try to get them to reach their utmost potential. And I try to do that by kind of demonstrating that myself. I try to keep my levels of ethics and morals pretty high to kind of inspire them to emulate that so that they are able to be the type of coach that I am. I don't ever want them to try to be me. But I think that I've got some decent qualities that are good for at least my population, the population that I deal with. And if they're going to deal with that type of population and those type of athletes, they have to have some of those attributes. Kind of continuing the leadership styles on this, and just kind of going over a little more in depth each one. Transformational and servant leadership, as I said, those are probably the two that I do the most. I'm kind of a transformational servant leader. And transformational leadership, just to rehash, is a style of leadership that allows the leader to work together with the employees to kind of discover the needed change. The leader, inspires the followers to change through creating a vision to guide them. And a servant leader, like I said, it's the follower is more important than the leader, and it just kind of allows the followers to unlock their potential and perform at their best. Some of the ethical issues, probably a big one, performance enhancing drugs. There's several reasons why that's a problem. It can potentially harm the athletes. It kind of coerces them to try to do things that they probably wouldn't normally do. There's some moral issues there. and it undermines the sport's intended purpose. There's some sportsmanship and things like that, and things that the sport is supposed to provide for each person and for the community surrounding it. And it kind of compromises the standards and behaviors of each athlete. And eventually changing what they consider to be acceptable. And we want to try to, preserve that as much as possible. What I do is try to provide as much education about performance-enhancing drugs, the types of performance-enhancing drugs, what they can do for you, good and bad. And then by, allowing my athletes to achieve results through the training, doing my best to find as much information as I can to improve their performances, alleviates that need or want to try to do something extra because they're getting their needs met through the training itself. Another one of the ethical issues is something you're going to deal with anywhere as long as you're dealing with people. There's going to be some harassment and discrimination, things that could potentially pop up. And diverse populations require sensitivity to the needs of all people. Like you see in the picture here, on an average night, we're probably 85 to 90% female. And so in terms of the training, the athletes that we train. So respect is king. In order for us to be successful as a company or for athletes to be successful as individuals, everybody needs to be respected, and that allows them to fully perform us, for coaches, our duties, and for them to perform on the field or in the weight room or on the turf if we're doing some change of direction type stuff or something like that. Harassment and discrimination is completely unacceptable. It's something that we frown upon completely, and if it's brought to our attention, we handle it swiftly, and it's just not allowed in our facility. The scripture that I like to kind of, this is not completely leadership, it's not completely strength and conditioning, but 1 Corinthians 9:27, and this is kind of something that I live by. I discipline my body like an athlete, training it to do what it should. Otherwise, I fear that after preaching to others, I myself might be disqualified. And so I think what we're saying here, and not just talking about training and lifting weights and running and all that stuff, and we definitely do that stuff too, but we practice what we preach. We make sure that we honor each person and give them respect, and we keep a certain moral code, and our ethics are strong and high. And by doing all those things ourselves as leaders, we can preach those things to our athletes, but if we're not doing them, when the time comes, if a situation presents itself, we won't be ready. And so I make sure that myself and my coaches, we hold ourselves to a totally different standard, because we have people that are following us, that are listening to us, that are doing things because they believe wholeheartedly in us. And it's something that I tell my coaches all the time. If you're right or if you're wrong, no matter what it is you're saying in a particular workout, if you say it with conviction and you believe it, the kids will do it. And that's because they want to follow you as a leader. And because they want to follow you, they'll follow whatever you tell them, or whatever you show them. So it's important that you hold yourself to another standard, so that when they are following you, they actually are doing the things that they're supposed to do. So in conclusion, strength coach as a leader has to be responsible for athletes' development for probably 10 out of the 12 months of a year. So there's no luxury of games and trophies. We don't get a season. We got to get athletes to perform their tasks, and they're often very difficult or painful. And in order, they're doing these tasks for a goal that they can't see. There's no game at the end of the week. There's no tournament. There's no championship. So we're kind of, our backs against the wall, motivating them, pulling their teeth, trying to get them to see the bigger picture. It's our job as coaches, not necessarily to put athletes in a position to win, but to give them the tools to succeed should that opportunity present itself. It's our job to make sure that we aren't setting them up for failure. And being a good leader is I think personally, that giving your followers an opportunity to succeed no matter what. This has been my presentation. Thank you for watching. I look forward to hearing your comments. This class has been great, and I really appreciate all of it. It really worked out for me. It's perfect timing in terms of where I am as a coach. Thank you.